Holy crap, you guys blew up my last Marvel video.
Daddy, chill.
I seriously did not expect that level of response, and I am super grateful that video got so much exposure and love. Thank you guys. However, I think it's time to make a follow-up video for a couple of reasons, but primarily because I realized there's a lot more I want to say about the topic after 3 weeks have passed. The other reason is that among the super thoughtful and balanced responses I got in the comments, I've been seeing a lot of other comments that fundamentally misunderstood what I was trying to say. Now, let me just make something very clear. You guys are absolutely free to disagree with me and my points. I don't personally get offended by quote-unquote mean comments or people telling me that I'm dumb or stupid or that my analysis is stupid, whatever. I don't really care about all of that. But as a writer and a content creator, it tells me something when I see people that aren't understanding what I was getting at. I have to ask myself if I was too facetious or if I didn't explain myself well enough, and to be fair, that was my second video ever. So, I want to expand on what I said in that video and take it a step further. Oh, and speaking of mean comments, I want to take a moment to give a huge shout out to this brother right here.
Expose him!
This guy has taken the time to comment on almost all of my videos telling me how much my content sucks or isn't written well, and when I saw this, I realized in that moment, I have a hater. And that actually made me super happy.
What?
No, like for real. For my channel to have gotten so much public attention that I, little old Sean the Sage, have haters now in 3 weeks?
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
But, just to be clear, this is not me being petty or vindictive. Jesus tells his followers not to retaliate when people hate on us, but to bless them instead. So thank you, homie, for showing me just how much God has blessed this channel in such a short period of time. I hope you find something better to do, bro. Anyways, with all that in mind, it's time to talk about the future of the MCU and tempering our unfair expectations moving forward. Okay, so if my last video was a review of Phase 4, this video is more of an in-depth look ahead at what's coming in Phase 5. At the end of that video, I briefly touched on the next group of MCU projects and how I was feeling about them, but this time I want to go through each one and give it a fuller breakdown. And it's here that I want to bring up a major point that I saw in the comments of the last video. I am not done with the MCU. I'm just tired and disappointed. I saw so many people saying I was overreacting or that the video was capped because at the end of the day, I was still gonna go see these new movies and shows.
Now let me offer this as a rebuttal.
When did I say I was giving up on the MCU? At no point in that video did I insinuate that I've given up on Marvel. My whole point was just that it doesn't feel the same. I'm not as excited or confident in their abilities and decisions anymore. Am I still gonna go see the movies when they drop? Hell yeah! I'm just not as willing to give Marvel the benefit of the doubt and be confident in their ability to make a banger of a movie or a TV show as I was, say, 4 years ago. That's all. The second thing I want to address right up front is that some of you guys made an excellent point. It's not like the Infinity Saga is this collection of masterpieces that never had a miss. I think we may have heaped on some level of unfair standards for this new phase of the MCU because we look back on the first 10 years of it with rose-colored glasses. That is a perfectly valid point. Movies like Thor: The Dark World still existed, and bad CGI was present in movies like Black Panther. Like seriously guys, look at this. This is a PS2 cutscene.
What is that?
But you know what the difference is? Even if every movie in the Infinity Saga wasn't a banger, they all felt like they were part of the larger Marvel story. It felt like an event, like something I wanted to go see. It was heading towards something. Nowadays, it just feels like they're pumping out subpar content to keep the machine going. With that being said, here's the timeline for Marvel Phase 5. Yeah, it's a lot. We are going to go through this piece by piece and look at what my feelings and expectations are for each one. And you know what? Throw in the 3 movies from Phase 6 since there's only 3. So strap in. We're going to be here a while. Let's just jump right in with the first Phase 5 project, Ant-Man 3 Quantumania. To be honest, I don't really have too many strong feelings about this one. The first Ant-Man was an absolute sleeper, and Paul Rudd totally nailed it as Scott Lang. I really enjoyed the pseudoscience behind why making yourself the size of an ant would actually give you some insane abilities and the implications that has. Ant-Man and the Wasp wasn't terrible, but it definitely just existed to fill the void until Endgame dropped. And yes, it was cool to see Hope finally suit up and catch some bodies, but the movie itself wasn't all that impressive to me. Also, these movies have some of the best supporting characters in Marvel. period. Really, the biggest thing I'm looking forward to here is seeing how Kang and the Quantum Realm fit into the larger story of the multiverse, since we know he will be making an appearance in the movie. Moving on to the spring of 2023, we have the Disney Plus show Secret Invasion. Okay, so I'm actually pretty excited for this show for several reasons. First, I love Nick Fury's character in the MCU, especially after Captain America Winter Soldier, and I am pumped for his return to the mainstream. From the trailer, it seems like they're going for that same spy, thriller, suspense tone that worked so well for Winter Soldier, and I just hope they stick to it rather than devolving into a CGI horror fest like they always do. I also hope they drop the comedy and childishness for this one and let it take itself seriously. The last thing this show needs is more of Marvel's grade A humor. Then in May of 2023, we get Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I'll be honest here, guys, and this might be a hot take, but the only thing I'm really excited for here is Adam Warlock. I've been waiting to see Adam pull up in the MCU since Guardians 2 dropped, but now I'm a little scared, and not just because of the casting.
You better stop!
Just kidding, I'm sure he'll do fine. I don't know, guys, I'm just not super amped for Guardians, especially since they're on the same wavelength as Thor when it comes to the goofiness and comedy. And yes, I know, they were the first to do it and do it well, but it never really landed that hard for me. Whatever. I am excited to see what they do as far as some kind of finale or end with the Guardians. Hopefully it's somber and dramatic like the end of Guardians 2, while still being true to their lighthearted nature. Next we got What If Season 2, and I'm just gonna save us all some time here. The first season had some really epic moments, especially at the end with Infinity Ultron. That was amazing. But it really felt corny and on the nose most of the time. It was annoying. Hopefully season 2 is better. Moving right along, we have Echo. Look, she was really cool in Hawkeye, and I know she's connected to some really cool characters, but I just don't really care all that much right now. I'm sure that'll change when it comes out. Ugh. Then we got the Marvels coming out in July, and I got some things to say here. First of all, I despise Brie Larson's Captain Marvel.
I am disgusted.
It truly baffles me how someone can be so lovable in Kong Skull Island and then be such an insufferable butt muncher in the MCU. Captain Marvel is, in my opinion, the epitome of a strong female character written the wrong way. And while I know some of you feel the same way about Rey from Star Wars, the difference is that Rey isn't a smug jerk. She makes mistakes. She cries. Other characters call her out for being stupid plenty of times. And yes, while I know many people make the argument that Rey got way too much power or got way too strong for no reason without any real effort or training, I don't really care how powerful they made her, or Captain Marvel for that instance, even though Captain Marvel is far from being as strong as they make her out to be. I care way more about how much they force every other character to bend to her will and treat her like this infallible being. It's so blatantly obvious what they're trying to do, and it's the most frustrating thing to watch when you just want genuine, natural character development. Compare her to, say, Natasha, the OG strong woman of the MCU. You know what? I'm just gonna leave it at that before I have a freaking aneurysm. I wasn't absolutely over the moon about Miss Marvel either, but it was very cute and she did a great job with the character and what it was supposed to be. I also really did love Monica Rambeau in WandaVision and what her setup was, so I'll give it a chance. Up next, we got Loki Season 2, and boy oh boy am I ready for this one. I know a lot of casual MCU fans got pretty lost pretty quickly with Season 1 because of how deep cut the references are and how meta it gets with Marvel's cosmology. The TVA and the Timekeepers and the multiverse is a lot to handle for someone that isn't a true blue comic nerd. But for those of us that are true comic nerds, this show was awesome. It did wonders for Loki's character development, answered many lingering questions from Infinity War and Endgame as to Loki's fate, and managed to bring back a beloved character without cheapening his sacrifice. In my opinion, Loki's death at the beginning of Infinity War was an absolutely pivotal moment for setting the tone of the movie, for Thor's character, and just everything that movie was setting up. It was such an impactful moment. It really made you stop and realize, this dude Thanos is no joke. And I remember at that time seeing a lot of fan theories and fan fiction stories talking about how Doctor Strange came in a portal off screen and saved Loki, or he faked his death in some way. And while those stories were really cool to think about and hope for, I think it was a far better move to bring back an alternate version of Loki and leave the main one dead. That version of Loki had been through his character arc, accepted Thor as a brother, and accepted his place as an Odinson. and he dies. So now we get a reset with a different version of Loki that goes through his own hero's journey, and it's so cool to see throughout the show. Also, Sylvie was an absolute delight to have next to Loki as a main character, and so was Mobius. I loved all of the interactions and mystery and setup in season 1. Also, and I especially loved Kang's formal introduction at the end of the series, and the massive implications his death has on the formation of the multiverse. That cliffhanger was absolutely vicious. So yeah, season 2 better be heat. Now I know a lot of people are excited for this next one, because in November of 2023 we are slated to get Blade in the MCU. To be honest, I don't have much to say here other than I really loved his teaser at the end of the abysmal train wreck known as the Eternals. It would be super cool to start introducing more mystic creatures into the MCU like vampires and werewolves and get sort of a Midnight Suns team started. Seeing him team up with people like Black Knight and Moon Knight would be super cool, and I hope they do both of those characters justice. I know I don't represent the vast majority on this one, but Blade sounds really cool and I'm ready to see it brought to the MCU. Deep breath, guys, we're almost done here. For the sake of time and editing, I'm gonna lump these next two together. Ironheart and Agatha Coven of Chaos are both projects that I'm sure will be cool, but I don't care about right now at the moment. I got no strong feelings here, sorry. However, I will say Ironheart is slated to show up in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and so I'm super excited to see how they set up her character, and perhaps after that movie I will feel much more strongly about the upcoming Ironheart project. These next two, however, are very much the opposite. Daredevil Born Again drops in the spring of 24, and my expectations for this show are through the roof. While I am less than excited at the news that it's going to be a reboot, we don't know in what sense it will be a reboot. I was talking to my friend Lucas about this, and I believe the title, Born Again, to me feels like they're hinting at what kind of show this is going to be. Let me explain. Daredevil's Christian faith is a large part of his character, and as a follower of Christ myself, this phrase has particular significance. This is a phrase used in Christian theology that basically means you've been made new because of your faith in Christ. You're still in many ways the same person, but the Holy Spirit has made a fundamental change in your heart that allows you to live a new kind of life. There is both continuity and newness implied here. Essentially, Born Again may be more of a soft change or a refurbishing of the character rather than a hard reset altogether. Both continuity and newness. In other words, the same way that when someone follows Jesus, they are both a new person and the same person at the same time, the characters that we see in Daredevil Born Again may be the same characters that we know and love from the Netflix version, but there is a fundamental newness to the story and to their motivations and backstory. So far, from what we've seen of Matt Murdock and Kingpin in the MCU, I still believe they're keeping the overall tone and feel of these characters the same. While I'm not a huge fan of the Ronald McDonald costume they got my boy in right now, I have high hopes that they will treat a fan favorite character with some kind of respect and let him shine the way he did on Netflix. Captain America New World Order is next, and I am pumped for this one too. I loved Sam Wilson's arc in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I love the fact that they really leaned heavily into the political nature of Captain America's character, especially as a black man being handed the shield. I know a lot of people just wrote this off as woke nonsense, but this is natural, realistic storytelling here. What would happen if the classic Captain America handed off the shield to a black man? There would be some heavy historical and political implications there. And as a black Marvel fan myself who is surrounded by primarily white superheroes, I really love that they're not only handing off the shield to someone like Sam Wilson, but diving into the history there and why that would be such a heavy choice. On a lighter note, I also love the more grounded human battles that are inherent with this character, since he's not a super soldier and he faces far more quote-unquote normal threats. Finally entering into Phase 6, we have Fantastic Four. What can I even say here that I haven't already said or isn't super obvious? After two failed attempts at making a good Fantastic Four movie, and after seeing the man himself pull up as Mr. Fantastic, I'm just ready for more. If they manage to get John Krasinski back as Mr. Fantastic, that would be awesome. But if not, I just hope they do a good job with the movie and the characters and introduce the MCU Fantastic Four in a justified way. And lastly, Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. Honestly, these movies are way too far out for me to even be able to accurately predict what they're going to be about or anything in that sense. It looks awesome, I love the names and logos, and I guess we'll see if it's good in like 3 years. I will say though, there have been some reports about the different teams that are going to be teaming up to face Kang, and maybe even Doctor Doom. And it would be really cool to see the new Avengers, the Thunderbolts, the Eternals, and the Fantastic Four all band together to face this massive multiversal threat. So as far as plot, that's as much as I can think of. I don't know how much they're going to pull from the comics or not, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, I know. It's done. We're done. Hopefully that cleared some things up for you guys and gave you all something to think about. But as always, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Be careful though. Don't get exposed like old boy over here. As always, like and subscribe if you guys are having a good time watching so I know and YouTube knows that you're vibing with what we got going on here. And if you're ready, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!